Last time, I beat Pokemon Platinum using Ash's Sinnoh team, and it was definitely his most lopsided yet. He had 3 powerhouses, but then his other 3 were pretty useless. Today, I'm gonna be playing through Pokemon Black with Ash's Unova team. Now, unlike his other team so far, he didn't really seem to have a set team for the league, instead choosing to swap team members, so there was a bit of a problem there. I decided on just using Pikachu, the 3 starters, Unpheasant, and Crocodile since those seem to be the most prominent members. Of course, like always, I'm not using items in battle since that would be too easy. Alright, let's do this. So obviously you can't catch starters in the wild, so in order to make this challenge possible, I used my super cool hacking skills to edit the wild encounters to have the starters. He caught all 3 of them in quick succession, so I'll have Tepig and Oshawott for the first gym, which should be nice. Of course, the first end fight was a total joke like it always is. I think it's also a good time to mention for new viewers that I'm not covering every single rival battle in the Gen 5 games since there are so many of them and they're basically all the same. I'm only going to cover all the end fights and the final rival battles. Right after that, I catch a Tepig on Route 2. It's the only starter of his that he evolved for some reason, and even then, I can only evolve it up to a Pignite. I mean, it's still part fighting, which should be really useful, but I don't understand why he didn't fully evolve it like he did in Sinnoh. Alright, let's take on the gym. Yeah, Silent was easy as I expected. His Lillipup went down with a few water guns, then I tried paralyzing his Pansage with Pikachu for some reason, even though I didn't really need to. After a bit, I switched to Tepig and finished it with a few Embers. After taking out a few fake animal activists, I can finally catch my next 2 team members, Pidove and Snivy. Now, they're both canonically female, so I had to specifically catch females. A female Pidove wasn't hard to find, but for Snivy, I ended up having to catch a male one because, I'm not kidding, I spent almost 50 minutes looking for a female one, and every single time, they were male. I don't know if there's something with the encounter table in Gen 5 that affects gender, but there's no way I should have gone through hundreds of encounters for a 12.5% rarity only to not find a single one. Anyway, after all of that, we're at the second end fight. Pidove is an easy one-shot with Electro Ball, and then for Tympole, I tried switching into Snivy to give it some experience since I didn't train my new members, but Vine Whip basically did nothing, so I just went back to Pikachu to finish it. Last is Timber, but one Electro Ball and Thundershock take it out. So I was worried about the Lenora fight since I only have Pignite to deal with her, and unfortunately Herdier has Intimidate. Thankfully, I got a lucky 5-turn Arm Thrust to barely take her out, and then for Watchog, I switched to Pikachu to hopefully get a static activation, and I get it. Alright, well, I think I basically won. Even though she has a Super Potion, I still outspeed and a few more Arm Thrusts to finish the fight. Right after that though, those same fake animal activists decide to steal a Dragon Skull. How ironic. Well, it was really easy to track them down, so let's just head on to Berg. Okay, so the team is a bit trained up now. I lead with Pidove, who is now level 20, and I get a crit Air Cutter on the first turn to nearly knock it out. Unfortunately, he has 2 Hyper Potions, so by the time I get him low, I'm also low. I switch to Pignite to take it out. Second is Dwebble, so I just use a few Flame Charges, then accidentally use a Rollout, so now I'm locked in. Thankfully, when Leavanny comes out, I miss, so I get to switch back to Pidove to remove my lowered accuracy, then switch back and use 1 Flame Charge to take it out. And right after that, Pidove evolves. I don't know how useful it'll be for now since it only learns special attacks despite being a physical attacker for some reason, but I guess it's a nice power boost. On Route 4, I catch my final team member, Sandile. I'm actually allowed to fully evolve it, which is great. I don't know why it seems like he regressed during the series, like why does he not fully evolve any of his starters? I don't know, but what I do know is that my team is super underleveled, so I think I'm gonna need to massacre some Maudinos. After doing a bit of grinding on the route east of Nimbasa, here's the team now. There were a lot of strong trainers in the desert resort too, so I gained a lot of levels. I think we should be ready for Elisa. Well, before that, we have to go on a Ferris wheel ride with N, because that's not suspicious at all, and then we battle. I forgot to lead with Pignite, but Snivy actually managed to take out Sandile by itself. Second was Darumaka, so I switched to Oshawott and took it out with 1 Razor Shell. For Scraggy, I tried using Pikachu since I know his last Pokemon is Sigilyph, but he gets in Swagger, so I'm at 8 HP when I take it out. I do get in 1 Electro Ball though, so now Krokorok can finish it with Crunch. Well, Elisa surprisingly ended up being just like Surge. Rock Tomb is pretty inaccurate, and I did miss once, but my luck was pretty good, so I took out both her Emolgas easily. And then for Zebstrika, I just used 1 Dig, and it one-shot it. Wow, that went way better than I thought it would. Usually this tends to be one of the harder gyms. Okay, so you probably expect Clay to be pretty tough, and I did too. Well, I ended up soloing his entire team with just Oshawott. His Krokorok went for Swagger, and then I one-shot it with Razor Shell, and then his Excadrill went for Hone Claws for some reason, and then I snapped out and took it out as well. And then of course his Palpitoad was no problem. And it wasn't even like I was over-leveled either, I was level 27. In Chargestone Cave, we finally get the lucky egg. This is always a highlight in my Gen 5 playthrough since I always have felt like the game started picking up around this part. This should definitely help my team catch up. Oh yeah, and a little after, Tranquil evolves. I don't think it'll be super useful since it only really gets normal and flying attacks, but at least it has fly now. And yet again, the end fight was a complete joke. His first 4 teams are just the local Pokemon, and well, his entire team just consisted of rock, steel, and bug types, which are all types that Pignite can absolutely destroy. I didn't expect this run to go so well. Actually, it might be too early to say that. Hopefully I didn't just jinx myself. Alright, time for Skyla. She leads with a Swoobat, so I lead with Krokorok. I use 1 Crunch to take it out, and then I switch to Pikachu for Swanna since it's 4 times weak, and 1 Thunderbolt takes it out. Last is Unpheasant, so I use 1 Thunderbolt to finish the fight. I'm actually surprised that Pikachu has been pulling his weight lately. Usually he's pretty useless, and still can't one-shot stuff with Thunderbolt. Shortly after that, Krokorok finally evolves into Krookodile. I expect him to be a star player on the team, especially for the Elite Four. He's pretty much the only one here with really good stats. Alright, there are a ton of trainers I can fight now that I have served, so I'll fight them all and we'll see how Bryson goes. Well, to absolutely nobody's surprise, Bryson was a sweep. Vanillish was a one-shot with Brick Break, and then Beartic survived a Brick Break and went for Brine, but it surprisingly didn't do much. I took it out the next turn, and last is Cryogonal, but it has base 50 defense, so it was of course another one-shot. Anyway, if you've played through the Gen 5 games before, you know that this part of the game is loaded with Team Plasma Grunt fights, kind of like in the Gen 2 games. And just like in the Gen 2 videos, I'm not going to show much of this part since it's really boring. However, I think it'll be fun to think about how I'm feeling about this team so far. So, as you probably noticed, Oshawott and Snivy have barely been getting any screen time, and that's because they're really useless now, kinda like Bulbasaur and Squirtle. What's really surprising though is how good Pignite is despite not being fully evolved. Even though it's a second stage with not exactly great stats, it's still really carrying the team. Okay, I'll take the rest of these guys out and come back for the final Bianca fight. Alright, final Bianca fight. She leads with Stoutland, who annoyingly has Intimidate. Still, it's a 2-shot with Brick Break. Next is Musharna, so I switch to Krookodile to one-shot it with Crunch. I switch to Unpheasant for Simisage, use Fly, and take it out the next turn. And last is Emboar, so I go for Fly, and I surprisingly one-shot it. I mean, to be fair, it was a crit, although I'm not sure if it mattered. Finally, we have Drayden, and I was kind of worried since I didn't have a good answer for him, but what I've learned throughout this run is, when in doubt, just use Krookodile. I take out Fracture easily with a Bulldoze and Crunch, and then his Druddigon was also easy since he just used Chip Away, which is a pretty bad move. Last was Haxorus though, and this thing was scary. I got in a Bulldoze to lower its speed, but he forced a switch with Dragon Tail, and it was to Oshawott. Well, you can see that Blizzard is still not able to finish it off at 60% health, so yeah, that's why I haven't been using Oshawott that much. I lose a few more members, but I eventually whittle it down though. Thank God Krookodile outsped him and used Bulldoze. Right after that is the final Charon fight. He leads with Unpheasant, so I use Pikachu. Thunderbolt doesn't one-shot it though, but he doesn't do anything, so I just use Volt Switch and go to Krookodile. That was a bad play though, as he sends out Serperior next. I switch to Pignite, and after 3 flamethrowers, he goes down. Third is Simipour, so I try going to Snivy, but it's way too underleveled and its Scalds are doing a ton. I go to Pikachu, and I get one-shot. Why is this thing so strong? I switch to Unpheasant, and I do finish it, but man, this thing hits way harder than it has any right to. Last is Liepard though, so it's just a one-shot with Fly. So, as you saw there, I was nowhere near ready for the Elite Four, especially with a team of unevolved starters. So, as I always do in these team runs, I spent a couple of hours fighting every last trainer and slaughtering a ton of Audinos. And here's the team now. I'm expecting Krookodile to carry me for the remaining battles, honestly. He has Dragon Claw, Bulldoze, Crunch, and Brick Break. So, great type coverage for everyone. Alright, let's do this. First is Chantal, and well, she was a joke. Cofagrigus wasn't a one-shot, but I got a defense drop and she missed Will-O-Wisp, so the next turn I took it out. And after that, the rest of her team were all one-shots. To be fair, I wasn't expecting that battle to be hard. Second is Grimsley. I lead with Pignite this time to take down his Scrafty, but he gets in a sand attack before he faints, and second is his Crocodile, and it has Intimidate, so my attack is also lowered. I switch to Pikachu to sacrifice it, then try taking it out with Oshawott. Surf actually brings it to low health, but I eventually go down. I decide to just stop messing around and send out my Crocodile, and surprisingly I don't outspeed, but one Brick Break finishes it. Third is Bisharp, but it's 4 times weak to fighting, so it was obviously a one-shot. And last is Liepard, but I mean, come on, it's a Liepard. I'm not sure why he doesn't have something else like a Mandibuzz. Third is Caitlyn, but it went pretty much exactly like the Chantal fight. Actually, this time I completely one-shot swept her team. The only notable thing that happened was that I learned Earthquake, which just makes Crocodile even more unstoppable. Alright, lastly we have Marshall, but unlike the other 3, he's actually going to be difficult. I lead with Unpheasant, but Aerial Ace is barely doing half the throw, so I have to take a Stone Edge before taking it out. Second is Sock, and it has Sturdy, so I switch to Pikachu to deal some damage first, then switch back to Unpheasant, but somehow I get outsped. That's not good. I switch to Crocodile, who I know for sure is faster, and I take it out with one Earthquake. Third is Conkeldurr, so I use one last Earthquake before going down, then use Pignite's Flare Blitz to finish it. Last is Mienshao, but this is going to be close. Flare Blitz does great damage the first time, and he just uses Jump Kick. Then I use Flare Blitz again after he heals and get a perfect range to take him out. That could have definitely gone way south. After that, we find out that N has become the champion, so we rush to the top of the castle and catch Reshiram. Obviously, I can't use it, but I do make sure to name it Subscribe because it's pretty fitting, and probably also something you should do. Okay, the end fight was really scary. Zekrom surprisingly doesn't faint to Earthquake in one hit, but I get a crit on the next turn to take him out. Second is Vanilluxe, so I switch to Oshawott and sacrifice it, then switch to Pignite. Brick Break did close to all of his health, and then I went for Bulldoze thinking he'd use a full restore, but I guess he only has one because he didn't. Well, that's pretty annoying. Anyway, third was Caracosta, so I switched to Snivy as he uses Aqua Jet. I use Coil, then surprisingly take it out with one Giga Drain. Fourth is Klinklang. Oh nope, it's Zoroark. Well, that's great. All I can do now is take a risk and hope it misses Focus Blast. And it does. And Earthquake one-shots it. Fifth is his actual Klinklang, but it was an easy one-shot. But last is Archeops, and I need to play this carefully because this thing can sweep my entire team. What I decide to do is sacrifice the rest of my team, and each time a member faints, I switch back to Crocodile to use Intimidate, which will let me lower its attack by 3 stages. Well, by the time I get to Pikachu, he uses Acrobatics and Static activates at the perfect time. That means that I can outspeed him. I use Thunderbolt and it crits to one-shot it. Oh my god, that could not have been better timing. And finally, Ghetsis. I knew that Crunch wouldn't one-shot Cofagrigus, but he thankfully didn't go for Toxic like he always does, so I took it out without getting poisoned. Second is Hydreigon though, and this thing has coverage for basically my entire team. I have to sacrifice Oshawott, then I try using Pikachu for Light Screen, but it outspeeds. I try Unpheasant to do some damage, but Dragon Pulse does almost all of my health. That's not good. What do I do? I do the only thing I can and switch to Crocodile, and he miraculously misses Focus Blast. He heals, and I go for another Dragon Claw, and he misses again. Oh my god, my luck is crazy. Fourth is Seismitoad, so I switch to Snivy, who has the Eviolite, letting me tank its Sludge Waves and take it out. Fifth is Electros, and my plan was to use Gastro Acid to remove its ability, but he's faster and Acrobatics one-shots me. This means that I have to use Crunch with Crocodile since he has Levitate, but it does about half, while he just uses Flamethrower while the rain is still up. Okay. Interesting strat there. Well, that blunder might have cost him the battle because now I can do big damage to Bouffalant, then with only Pignite remaining, I outspeed him and finish the battle with Brick Break. And that's it, Pokemon Black with Ash's Unova team. It's strange how almost the entire run was a breeze and then the final 2 fights ended up being down to the wire. Honestly though, this run ended up going similarly to how I predicted, with Pignite and Crocodile being the star players, and then the rest of the team just only occasionally helping. Anyway, if you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe. I love doing these themed runs, and I actually plan on doing a hardcore Nuzlocke series with Ash's team soon. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.